Greetings metalheads, welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George, back once again with another collection update, showing off yet more cassette tapes, yet more additions to the ever-growing tape collection. Another little assortment that I ordered probably more than a few weeks ago now, maybe a month or so ago. Ordered from the good folks at Extremely Rotten Productions. So I picked up another bunch of 12 tapes. Well, actually 11 tapes I ordered and a freebie, which is very cool. But I ordered another assortment from their web store, Extremely Rotten Productions. I've ordered from them a few times before. You may have seen the previous updates that I've done or unboxings. But they're a really, really solid label. So they're releasing some killer albums and EPs and all sorts of good stuff. But they're also a great distro as well, distributing for other labels. They're based in Copenhagen, Denmark, and actually they're freaking reliable. So they have very, very reasonable shipping rates. Prices are very reasonable as well. So if you're looking to get hold of any of these releases, some of them might still be available anyway, but also just other killer albums, CDs, vinyl as well, then do head over to Extremely Rotten. I'll stick a link in the description and pick up some freaking great stuff. So first of all, I'm going to start with this first assortment of 6 releases. So we've got full lengths, we've got splits and an EP here. A band that I discovered not too long ago, in fact. Not entirely sure if I'm going to be pronouncing this correctly, but it's a band entitled Hyperdontia. Hyperdontia? I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure if it's Hyperdontia or Hyperdontia. Either way, they are a very, very good band. They were one of these bands that I kept seeing the logo around, was reading about them, heard about them, hadn't actually checked them out until not too long ago, but they kept cropping up on other web stores I was checking out as well, and I thought, I'm going to put in the hard work here, YouTube them, and I was richly rewarded for that because they're a freaking great band. They're a multinational outfit, so they are from, some members from Denmark, some members are from Turkey. So not quite sure on the backgrounds of the personnel or how they came together or other bands that they're in. But I think they've been around for about a decade now, and they've got some seriously solid releases in their catalogue. 3 full-length albums here, a cracking EP, and a couple of awesome splits as well. I didn't necessarily realise were very short and sweet splits with like 1 or 2 tracks either side. But regardless, Hyperdontia, freaking great band. It's good old-fashioned death metal. It's not brutal, technical, or anything particularly crazy and boundary pushing. It's old school style death metal. So if you like the good old-fashioned greats, Cannibal Corpse, if you like Unleashed, or another band that I thought was quite a good comparison point there, good old-fashioned Grave, Obituary, if you dig that good old stuff, then you're definitely going to enjoy Hyperdontia. They're a really good band. So one of the first releases that I checked out was the debut, Nexus of Teeth. So this isn't actually released through Extremely Rotten. This is through Desiccated Records, but it's a it's a cool article and a really good album. Nice yellow tape shell, which is always welcome. I do like a nice little bit of colour in my death metal. Interesting, gory looking cover there. Nice insert here. And I'm not going to go into too much depth and detail, but this is a bit of a beast. It sounds murky. It's full of great chugging riffs. Nice, nasty old school death metal stuff. You know, I'm not going to overcomplicate it. It is what it is. Second release. So I've kept this chronologically, although I'm not entirely sure on the years of release. But now, again, through Desiccated, we've got another release, which is actually a split. So it says here, originally released as a 7-inch EP by Carbonized Records, December 2020. So this reissue is from 2024. But this is a split with I believe they're a US band that I wasn't familiar with. And they are entitled Mortiferum. And I will say, that's a really good track. So their side is really good. More like Death Doom, you know, if you dig in Autopsy, or you dig in Grave Miasma, another good sort of reference point there, then you're going to dig Mortiferum as well. But Hyperdontia's side is really raw. I don't know if it's demo or what, but it's freaking nasty stuff. So it's a cool split, a really nice one. I tend to come back to that whenever I haven't got too long between the next job or the next task, and it's just a quick listen. Then we've got the second full-length album, again, Desiccated. Really cool one. This is Hideous Entity. Great little insert here. Great cover as well. Just point that out. Freaking great stuff. Mixed and mastered by Greg Wilkinson. Legend, of course. And cover artwork is a great cover. Who's that by? Wes Benscotter. Not quite familiar with that name, but yeah, cool art. Cool art. I wondered if it was a Dan Seagrave. Great album. Again, more killer riffs, sick gutturals. One thing that I really do like about Hyperdontia is there is a little bit of technical flair with the bass as well. The bass is always prominent, but the bass guitar, there's little kind of bass leads here and there, little meandering parts. It's really cool, actually. It's a really nice little effect, nice little touch. So that's a cool one. Really like that. Again, great continuation from the first album. Then we've got another split with Septage, and I believe they are out of Denmark or Scandinavia. Kind of more like death grind, gore grind, that kind of stuff going on there. It's pretty sick. Short and sweet though. We get one track from Hyperdontia, and then we get a couple of short and savage tracks from Septage. It's cool stuff though. Disgusting cover, that sort of mummified remains. Gold tape shell there. Nice, like it, always a good effect. Then, keeping chronologically, we have an EP, the Deranged EP. So it says 2023. I'm not sure on years of release. Haven't studied it that much, unfortunately, but this is a good EP. Again, a nice short and sweet savage listen. Fold that out. We've got sick artwork and very old school, sick looking band shot there. They're just a really solid band. They're one of the most solid, I guess, more modern, old school death metal bands that I've heard in a while. And there's tons of killer death metal bands out there, old school, new school, whatever. This one is definitely one to pay close attention to. So Deranged, a nice 4-track bruiser of an EP. And then that brings us chronologically up to the most recent full-length album, which is great. It's Harvest of Malevolence. Oh, very nice. Yellow and blue there. Yellow shell, blue print. Great cover. Check that out. That's eye-catching. Freaking cool. That'd be a good one to have on a t-shirt, definitely. And, yep, nice insert here. It's great. Really good album. Bruising, punching, chugging death metal. Really good stuff. Plenty of drum battering and blasting going on there. So that's 6 releases from Hyperdontia. As I say, I'm pretty new to them. I will definitely be adding them to my list of bands you need to hear reviews. So when I'm a bit more familiar with these albums and releases, I'll go into a little bit more depth and detail about Hyperdontia. But I do know they've got, and it's either out or coming out soon, they've got another 7-inch coming out soon. So even more cool death metal coming soon. Okay, so let's go through these other articles. Starting off, in no particular order, we have Spectral Voice. And this is a little bit of a challenge to pronounce, but this is Sparagmos. I'm not quite sure. A US death doom band with, I think it's 3 of the members are actually, in fact it might be just a 3-piece, looking at that insert there. They've got a lot of commonality with Blood Incantation. Of course, the band that's absolutely gone stratospheric with their crazy out there death metal, doing really well for themselves. A great, great band. But this is a much doomier, cosmic freaking... I don't even know how to fully describe the bizarre, transcending nature of Spectral Voice's music. But I believe this is their second full length, and I do know that. In fact, the debut I had, I don't know where it's gone, which is frustrating me, but I did have that on CD. Bought that many years ago, and it's a freaking great album. This is proper out there stuff. It is, if you dare, perfect for sticking your headphones on, close your eyes, darken the room, grab a pint of something strong, and just transcend into the void. It's freaking great stuff. It's short, relatively short in number of tracks. I think it's only 2 tracks each side, so 4 tracks in total. But it's still a long album. It's very doomy. When it's more on the death side, it's really heavy. It's blasting, it's crushing. The vocals are spectral. The riffs are chugging and freaking excellent. It's just a really good album. I was really, really impressed to see this available in tape format. Just had to snap it up, knowing that they're such a solid band. So Spectral Voice, if you love Death Doom and you love it to be really dark, really ambient, really engrossing stuff, encapsulating stuff, then check out Spectral Voice. And if I'm pronouncing it wrong, apologies, but Sparagmos. Freaking great. And that album cover is creepy as. Really good one from the US. This band, I believe they're actually from Hungary. And this is the second album from Mephitic Grave. This is Dreadful Seizures. Now this is a band that I was actually familiar with already through stumbling upon them when actually searching for Mephitic Corpse. Not to be confused with that band, of course, that grinding, savage US band. But this band kept coming up, and it is more of a old school death metal band. It's got a modern sound, but it's really good. This is a really good album. They're a really good band. They've got a couple of albums out, and this is just solid. If you like Hyperdontia, if you like more modern kind of old school death metal, it's not particularly doomy, but there's doomier sections. You know, if you're digging the old stuff, the old school style, then you're going to enjoy Mephitic Grave. Only really listened to this one, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, but it is one that's from the first listen, it's one that you know you're going to be replaying it pretty quickly. Great gutturals, great guitar work, drums are pummeling. It's just a really solid one. So Mephitic Grave with Dreadful Seizures, a decent full length, courtesy of Gurgling Gore. That's a great name for a label. So that's our Hungarian death metal installment for the day. Then we've got, going back to the US for a couple of releases here. This is an interesting band. So this is Skinless. I think they're actually from New York. They are a brutal death metal band, so much more extreme, blasting, furious stuff. Blast beat. There's a good kind of, I guess, contrast with bands like Suffocation or Dying Fetus. That US death metal style, more, you know, brutal, faster, up tempo, but it's got there's no shortage of groove in there as well. So it's crushingly groovy stuff. This is an album, I think this was actually released in 2006. Not quite sure, but Trample the Weak, Hurdle the Dead. A really good one. Really like this album. It's pretty short and sweet. It's a bit of a neck workout and a bit of a bludgeoning from start to finish. I actually got into Skinless a number of years ago through the Only the Ruthless Remain album. I can't remember if that's what it's actually called, but one of the more recent albums. I think they've had a few out in the last decade or so, but that was a good one. Tried to get hold of a CD copy of this, but haven't got one. But this is a really good one. Particular highlights I will just mention. I love the kickoff of Overlord there, and a unilateral disgust. Deviation will not be tolerated. It is full throttle pummeling stuff. Freaking great. Decent gutturals, blast beats, riffs are punching. And then we actually get a rather interesting closing cover of Wicked World, which is a very fitting tribute at this time to Sabbath and Ozzy, of course. Savage, blasting. Yeah, cool. If you like Dying Fetus and you like Suffocation, then you're going to dig Skinless, definitely. Good US death metal band. Now, this one, I'm not quite sure about, because they were, again, a name, just like Hyperdontia, a name that I kept hearing about, hadn't actually checked them out. When I finally did, I was pleasantly surprised. The band I'm talking about here is Apparition. From whereabouts in the USA are they? I can't quite remember. But I'm not quite sure if it is the case, but it seems like they're actually split up now or on hold. So that's a bit of a disappointment. But this was the release that I checked out finally. Did my YouTube work there. Checked them out. Great name. Disgraced Emanations from a Tranquil State. Cool, poetic stuff. Really good. Again, very much old school death metal, but heavily doomy. Think Incantation, think Autopsy. Clearly a bit of a vibe going there, but really solid actually. Punching riffs, just that pure chug in there. Good gutturals, very haunting stuff. Freaking great. So I'm not sure if Apparition have called it a day, but if they have, then this, their second album, I believe it's their second album anyway, is a bit of a high note to end on. So bit of a shame, but a really good one. So definitely check it out if you're digging your old school rumbling death doom stuff. Disgraced Emanations from a Tranquil State. And this is released through Iron Fortress Records. Yeah, a cool one. Heavy, chuggy, awesome. So that takes us to the last album that I actually bought, or the last release, I should say, that I actually purchased before the little freebie. This is a demo from 2024. This is Iron Division with Blood Tactics. Now, the music, first of all, this is blackened. I think it's actually tagged, if you check out on Metal Encyclopedia or the description, tagged blackened death metal. And I can definitely get that vibe there. It's got that kind of strong, blackened, very evil sounding vibe to it. It is pummeling. It is full throttle death metal, rooted in the old school, very much there. Not quite brutal death metal, but it is pretty savage. But it's got a real evil murkiness to it as well. And I think I was just a bit intrigued, really. Just thought, I read the description, thought, I like the sound of this. The band is from Denmark, I believe. This is a demo on red tape shell, which is cool. And it is released through Extremely Rotten. So it's one of 200. I have number 157 to be precise. But I'm not quite sure. But I don't know why it didn't quite occur to me while ordering it. And it could be wrong, could just be being suspicious. But with the artwork, the name Iron Division Blood Tactics, Profane Iron Conqueror, so these are some of the track titles: Berserker, Blood Tactics, Apex Savagery. The members going by letters, initials. Seems a bit potentially risky, but the release itself is actually quite enjoyable. 4 tracks, brutal stuff, as I say. Well, not brutal, but very, very heavy stuff. Dark, blackened death metal. It's a good one, but yeah, approaching with a little bit of caution here. Although if you are looking for some blackened death metal, then Iron Division have got you covered there. Then that brings us to the freebie, which is actually an album I do actually already have a copy. So I did order this from Extremely Rotten in one of the previous orders, but it is a great album, and actually it's worth talking about again. So this is Mortuous, who are a US death metal band, death doom band. This is Upon Desolation. I believe this is their second album, released by Extremely Rotten. And it's a really good one. Absolutely brilliant album. Really dig this one. Very, very good, heavy stuff. It's got that modern sound, but it's old school. It's bring in all that old incantation, obituary influence there, turning up the doom a bit. Yeah, it's good. Killer riffs, great haunting vocals. Naturally, I was listening to this album again just prior to doing this review, and really freaking solid. Mortuous, if you're not familiar with them, get yourself familiar, because they're a freaking good band, and this is a really good album. Not overly long, but it's just solid death metal. Doomy stuff. So, there we have it. A relatively short and sweet collection update of killer tapes. We've got a ton of awesome tracks to check out from Hyperdontia. 3 great full lengths here. I'm not sure if that is all of their full lengths. I believe it might be. But they've got plenty of other splits and singles and all kinds of other stuff to check out. So if you're looking for some killer death metal from Denmark and Turkey, Hyperdontia, one to check out. And also those other couple of bands there they've done the splits with. Septage are another great one. Very grinding. And Mortiferum. I need to check them out a bit more because freaking good. Based on that one track. Really good band. Then we've got Spectral Voice. Really haunting. Freaking killer. Really out there though. It's crazy. Death Doom from the US. Mephitic Grave with Dreadful Seizures. Absolutely killer death metal. Brutal installment of Trample the Weak, Hurdle the Dead from Skinless from the USA. A bit of a pioneering band actually, from what I remember. Apparition from the US. Iron Division from Denmark with their demo. And another US great, we've got Mortiferous. Mortiferous? Mortuous. What am I talking about? Mortiferum and Mortuous together. That would be an interesting supergroup. But Mortuous, Upon Desolation. Great stuff. So my friends, what are your thoughts on these bands, on these releases? If you're a fan already, let me know your thoughts. If you haven't checked any of these out, do put the work in. You'll be richly rewarded. As I say, I'll put a link to Extremely Rotten webstore in the description. So head over and pick up some goodies. Tons of great stuff there. Let me know what you then think of these bands, of these releases. Very interested to hear, of course. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this humble collection update. Please do feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. Support is very much appreciated, as always. Check back soon for more reviews and ramblings of all the good, heavy things. Until next time, take care of yourselves, listen to tape, and stay freaking heavy.